Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am NURUL Fatiha Ghani, the defense counsel representing Mr. Hakim for leniency in sentence to be imposed on him. Your Honour, looking firstly at the facts of this case as well as the personal circumstances of Mr. Hakim, I seek to persuade Your Honour that although Mr. Hakim's offence is very serious as it is relating to a life-threatening microbial infection, COVID-19, but it is very much fall in the lowest part of applicable sentence. There are significant mitigating factors that should be taken into consideration in underlining the proper sentence for Mr. Hakim. It is appreciable if Your Honour could determine the classical principle for retribution. I quote the case of public prosecutor against Muhammad Ramzan bin Ramli 2008 to MLJ 741 for Your Honour's note. Retribution requires that a judicial sentence properly reflect the moral blameworthiness of that particular offender. The severity of the penalty should match the offender's culpability. It varies according to the gravity of the harm done, the intention, the motive, and any other circumstances relevant to mitigate it. Your Honour, without denying the seriousness of the offence, I wish to point out regarding the fact that Mr. Hakim was economically unstable as he is unemployed after the workplace ceased to operate in March 2020. The act of fishing was done in order to put a food on the table of his family. He has no fixed income to feed his family as well as to pay more on the sentence. Therefore, Your Honour, the situation generates a view of a lesser weight of the offence. Your Honour, I would like to invite you to appreciate other personal circumstances of Mr. Hakim, that he is responsible to maintain his mother and 4 younger siblings. Therefore, I would stress out on the irrelevancy for any imprisonment sentence to be imposed on him. I ask Your Honour to take into account that initially Mr. Hakim did not plead his guilty. Later, he decided to acknowledge his guilt. Related to that, I recommend the court to give credit on the guilty plea. Your Honour, I submit the case of Bachir bin Abdul Rahman against Public Prosecutor 2004 to MLJ 534 to support my request. For your further reference, the case emphasizes the general law accepting that an accused person should be given credit or a discount for pleading guilty. In addition, Your Honour, Mr. Hakim is very sorry and regret for what he has done. Therefore, Your Honour, I would like to request to consider this very genuine remorse when sentencing him. Your Honour, putting Mr. Hakim into prison and fine him with full amount would have a worse effect to his unfortunate personal condition and may also give negative impact on his motivation to survive, especially during this pandemic era. Your Honour, I refer to one article of sentencing in Movement Control Order Offences 2020 for MLJ. The court should consider the wealth and poverty of the accused as a factor in assessing the amount of fine in order to avoid imposing excessive fines which could ruin the life of the accused. It is very essential for Your Honour to realize that in some family, the fine imposed to the offending family member will be treated as an urgent and substantial household expenditure, which would reduce the available cash flow of the family, and also it will lead to the hardship and suffering of their innocent and law-abiding family members. It is in my respectful submission that a 50% reduction of fine would be suitable for Mr. Hakim. Therefore, Your Honour, I will request to follow the recommendation to sentence Mr. Hakim for 500 ringgit Malaysian without subject to any imprisonment. Your Honour, that conclude the end of my submission. Thank you.